What if the ancient Greeks built a computer? What if it took 2,000 years for anyone to build another one? What if the most important discovery from the ancient world is a pile of rust? In the spring of 1900, a Greek sponge diver named Elias Stadiatis surfaced from the seabed in a panic. He had been 90 metres down off a small island called Antikythera, and he claimed to have seen a heap of corpses on the ocean floor. It was not corpses, it was bronze, statues, frozen mid-gesture, scattered across the wreck of a Roman cargo ship that had gone down 2,000 years before. But the real discovery wasn't the statues, it was a lump of corroded metal the size of a shoebox. Nobody knew what to make of it for 50 years. It sat in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, broken into 3 main pieces, slowly drying out and falling apart. A few researchers noticed there were gears inside, tiny bronze gears, dozens of them, interlocking, with teeth so fine you could not have cut them with the tools we thought the ancient world possessed. The reaction mostly was disbelief. It had to be medieval, maybe Renaissance, maybe a fake that fell into the wreck later. Because the ancient Greeks were not supposed to have gears like that. Then came the X-rays. In 1971, a Yale historian named Derek de Solla Price convinced the museum to let him radiograph the fragments. What appeared on the films was not a clock. It was something stranger. More than 30 gears, arranged in trains, driving pointers across calibrated dials, inscriptions in ancient Greek, microscopic, packed onto every flat surface. It was plainly and clearly a calculating machine. And it was built around 60 BCE. Let me put that in context. The first mechanical clocks in Europe appeared around 1300 years after this thing was built. Pendulum clocks, around 1650. Nothing of comparable complexity is known to exist anywhere on Earth for the next 1400 years. So what did this machine actually do? You turned a crank on the side. The crank drove the gear trains, and the gears drove pointers across the front and back faces. On the front dial, the position of the sun in the zodiac, the phase of the moon, the position of the moon against the stars. On the back, the cycle of solar and lunar eclipses predicted decades into the future, the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games, the calendar of every Greek city-state that mattered. Recent imaging suggests it may also have modelled the motion of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn, with gear ratios that match their orbits to within fractions of a degree. It was a portable model of the visible cosmos, in bronze, from the 2nd century BCE. And this is the part that keeps me awake. Nobody builds a machine this sophisticated as a one-off prototype. The gears are too refined, the inscriptions too polished, the design too confident. Whoever made this had made things like it before. Which means there were other Antikythera mechanisms, probably many, probably across the ancient Mediterranean. We have exactly one, and we only have it because a ship sank on top of it, and seawater preserved it long enough for a sponge diver to find it 19 centuries later. Bronze, on land, gets melted down, always. Every coin shortage, every war, every empire that needed weapons, the bronze of the previous century goes back into the furnace. Whatever the ancient world made of metal, we have almost none of it. We have the stones because stones are useless. We have the gold because gold is hoarded. The bronze, the tools, the instruments, the machines went back into the fire and came out as something else, which means our picture of the ancient world is fundamentally wrong. We think of the ancient Greeks as philosophers in togas, debating ideas in marble squares. But the Antikythera mechanism says they were also engineers, working in workshops we'll never find, making machines we'll never see, passing down knowledge that mostly didn't survive. And what didn't survive is most of it. So when someone tells you what the ancient world could and couldn't do, remember the shoebox of rust. Remember the 30 gears. Remember that it sat in a museum drawer for 50 years before anyone noticed what it was. And ask yourself how many other shoeboxes are out there, still on the seafloor, waiting for the next storm to lift them into a fisherman's net,